I will share an advanced level of affirmation with you, but I want you to commit to me before I do. I want you to promise me that you will only use what I'm about to share with you for positive and constructive purposes. Will you promise me that? Okay. I was running a group about 5 years ago now, and in that group there was a lady by the name of Ellen Thomas. Now, Ellen approached me at the end of the fourth day and she said, "James, I have a question for you." She said, "Outside of work, I volunteer at a women's shelter. And at this shelter, we help women who are coming out of either physical or emotionally abusive relationships. We try to help these women rebuild their lives. We try to get them to stand on their own 2 feet." She said, "Now, as you were talking about affirmations today, a thought occurred to me and I realised how many women who come into my shelter seem to have very common negative affirmations about themselves." She then continued, "As you were talking, I started to wonder, is these negative affirmations causing these women to get into abusive relationships? Or is it the abusive relationships that cause these women to have negative affirmations?" So I said, "Ellen, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? What negative affirmations is it that resonate in the minds of these women? What are their dominant thoughts or those dominant negative thoughts that these women are tend to have?" So she paused for a second and she says, "James, it's incredible how many of these women come to the shelter and they believe that they're worthless, that they're incapable of being loved." She said, "As crazy as it sounds, a lot of them tell me that they actually believe that they were fortunate to be in these abusive relationships because nobody would want them, nobody would love them." I said, "Ellen, can I ask you another question?" I says, "What do you think those abusive spouses are saying over and over again to these women? What do you think they're being told day after day?" And Ellen turned and she said, "James, well, I can tell you for a fact, they're being told to sit down and shut up because nobody cares what they have to say, that they're lucky to be in a relationship. After all, who would want them? Nobody would love them." I said, "You know what, Ellen? I bet you're absolutely right." One of the most powerful things we must recognise about affirmations is this. Affirmations work equally effectively whether we use them on ourselves or on somebody else, or even when somebody else uses them on us. In fact, affirmations are such a powerful programming tool for the human mind that even if a person chooses not to accept what is said to them, if it is said enough times with enough repetition, it starts to manifest and becomes a dominant thought, and we lose the power of choice. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Would anybody ever consciously choose to believe that they're worthless or incapable of being loved? Of course not. Nobody would ever consciously make that choice for themselves. But when something is said to them repeatedly, over and over again, we lose the power of choice. These women in that shelter lost the power of choice and it became a dominant thought in their minds. And guess what? They started to believe it to be true. This very same insight has been used for centuries to influence the collective mindsets of entire nations of people. We don't even have to go that back in history to see examples. Think about this, right? Looking back at Nazi Germany and reading Adolf Hitler's speeches transcribed in English, you would see a tremendous amount of repetition of specific themes. Adolf Hitler was literally using affirmations to influence the collective mindsets of an entire nation of people. Now, throughout history and religion, affirmations have been used both negatively and positively. Affirmations have been used to manipulate people for ill intent, but affirmations can be used equally effectively for positive gain. Listen, I've done this with my own daughter. Literally since the day my daughter Olivia was born. She was born at 9:05 p.m. on Saturday, but get this right, the 5th of July 2004. And I remember sitting with Olivia in my arms in the hospital, and it was dead quiet, and I was looking down at her, and I used my very first affirmations of her young life. I was looking down, I said, Olivia, you're the most incredible little girl in the world. You know why you're the most incredible little girl in the world? Because you're daddy's little girl and your mummy's little girl. I said, you know what that means, my little princess? I still call my daughter princess to this day. It means you have unlimited potential inside you. You have this pure greatness. Mum and Dad, we're here to help you bring it all out. All that potential you have inside. It's my job for the rest of my life to help you realise that. Now, I have easily used unlimited potential affirmation on my daughter Olivia, thousands of times in the last 19, 20 years. Now, I won't pretend that things have been a breeze for her. Not by a long shot. Like all children, some things have came easier, some things have been much more difficult. But every time that she struggles, I always use the same affirmation, always say the same thing. I'll say to my daughter, Olivia, since you were a little girl, I've told you, you have what kind of potential? Says, unlimited potential, Dad. And you know what that means, Olivia, don't you? And she repeats to me, it means that I can become better at whatever I choose to become better at, Dad. All I have to do is decide it's important to me, make a conscious choice to focus my mindset and practice enough to become good at it. I then try to give her examples of things she's done precisely to succeed in life. As leaders, this is why I asked you to make a promise right at the start. Right? As leaders, our words become the affirmations of the people we lead. We must be really cautious of how we communicate with our people, because we can plant negative thoughts in their minds just as readily as we do positive thoughts. Our words can become their affirmations if it's said often enough. Remember, words create thoughts, thoughts create actions, actions will create our results. Now, this is the second most powerful leadership tool you will put in your toolbox, along with the habit of self-reflection. We can influence an individual's dominant thoughts and beliefs by affirmation, by saying something to them over and over again. And now we fully understand that dominant thoughts and beliefs drive an individual's action, and our actions create our results in life. Think about it. What am I saying or not saying? What am I doing or not doing that is driving the actions or the results of my team? Affirmations are very, very powerful tool to drive actions and behaviours of others. They also work just as well in our own actions and beliefs as they do as others. Our thoughts control our actions control our results.